I'm all about trying to reach that person in the household, whoever's doing that cooking and caring and thinking about that, and empowering them and saying, this is so important. Listening to Felice just joined up those dots, like thinking about our mental health being completely impacted by our gut health. It's just, it's some simple stuff, but it joins everything up. So for me, it's like what we're doing outside with the animals, the livestock, and the soil and the vegetation, and then what that's producing for us, and then what's going into our bodies, and how we're looking after our families, and everything on that farmhouse table. It's just the whole picture for me is such simple stuff, and so important that we try and work together to get it right and get it better.
From wherever we are, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, recognising their continuing connection to this land, its waterways, the stars in the skies since time immemorial. We pay our respects to the elders, knowledge holders, and to all the generations of First Nations peoples who have nurtured their unceded sovereign lands for over 80,000 years and continue to do so today.
G'day, I'm your host Charlie Arnott, an 8th generational Australian regenerative farmer. And in this podcast series, I'll be diving deep and exploring my guests' unique perspectives on the world so you can apply their experience and knowledge to cultivate your own transition to a more regenerative way of life.
Welcome to The Regenerative Journey with your host Charlie Arnott.
Helen Rebanks, we're here at Grounded in Tasmania. Is it your first trip to Australia?
Second. I came to Sydney with James in 2016, I think. We were at the Sydney Writers' Festival, which was amazing.
He had a few funny stories about that one he told last night. Tell me, impressions of Grounded here at Fat Pig Farm, anyone that sort of, some presentations that have stood out?
Absolutely beautiful to be on this farm. And to drive just along the Huon River and the valley, it's just stunning. And hearing about the history and the apples of this area is just amazing. Standout so far has been Felice Jacker, and talking about psychiatry and gut health and gut microbiome. I'm all about the food. I'm the one that makes the food in the house. I'm the one that thinks about what we're going to have to eat as a family from morning till night and every week in, week out. And I've written a book called The Farmer's Wife, which has a few recipes in there, because I'm all about trying to reach that person in the household, whoever's doing that cooking and caring and thinking about that, and empowering them and saying, this is so important. Listening to Felice just joined up those dots, like thinking about our mental health being completely impacted by our gut health. It's just, it's some simple stuff, but it joins everything up. So for me, it's like what we're doing outside with the animals, the livestock, and the soil and the vegetation, and then what that's producing for us, and then what's going into our bodies, and how we're looking after our families, and everything on that farmhouse table. It's just the whole picture for me is such simple stuff. And so important that we try and work together to get it right and get it better. And I think that what Matthew's done here, Matthew and Zadie created this conference about farming better, is just how we can all improve little micro changes to what we're doing, and then make bigger changes and increase biodiversity on our farms, and think about how that, like, it's a holistic approach to me, how it's all interconnected. So important.
I think the secret weapon in agriculture is actually the women, and wives, partners of, because look, let's just be honest here, they pretty much make all the big decisions and run the show. How do you see? Do you see in the UK a movement towards the women in the households, the mothers, influencing decisions of husbands and steering them towards a more kind of, or a different type of agriculture, alternative agriculture?
Yes, I do. I think it's heavily women led in the UK. There's so many good people doing things, and the conversations that people are having in their households about economics and health and family life and everything else. It's often women led. You're right. I'm trying to think of a few names, but I know that there's lots and lots of work being done. And this event's been inspired by Groundswell, hasn't it? And that's huge over there in the UK. I think the numbers have grown from a few hundred to now 5,000 annually attending. And the speakers are just a really diverse group of energetic people that want to make change, want to nourish ourselves better. We want to look after the land better. And yeah, women are a huge part of that. I think women on the land, we've always been a part of that story, but we've never shared our stories very openly. I think I've been quite surprised to the response to my book, writing about being a farmer's wife and sharing that I'm incredibly proud to do that role, essentially, because modern world tells us all to be individuals and go out and earn separate incomes, but for me there's more, I put more importance on the family and the community around us, and that we all work as a team, and that's our kids joining in on tasks on the farm, and it's James and I making decisions together about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and why, when it comes to me and he says, oh, I want to buy this bit of kit or buy that, and I'm like, why do we need that? And sometimes we need those open conversations to work through things and work through ideas and learn from each other. And women have often just got on with things.
I guess traditionally they haven't been, I imagine, and I'm only speaking from my experience in Australia, I imagine that women haven't necessarily been part of those decision-making, the outside sort of stuff, the new tractor or the new, should I put wheat in this year or whatever else, for whatever reason. But you think that's changing, and that's an important thing?
I don't know in Australia and Tasmania. I don't know how much agency people have in their families to speak up and say how we're doing things. I know that my mother-in-law ran the farm accounts before I moved in as a partner in the farm business, and she was more than happy to pass on the big box of paperwork and say, here you go, Helen. And it's one thing ordering a new bit of kit outside, it's another thing making the books balance. And we all need to wake up to what's important, which is like making a living and looking after each other, and not getting into debt and more debt and more debt, because it can weigh so heavily on families. And then think about succession planning. And we're good at conversations, I would say. Lots of women are good at opening up these conversations, these sensitive, tricky ones, and be honest with each other and say, what do we need to do here for the next generation?
Let's talk about that next generation. How important has it been for you to have your children grow up on a farm in nature? I'm assuming probably falling out of the occasional oak tree, eating a bit of sheep shit every now and again. Just sort of that very close interface with nature. Has that been something you've been consciously kind of encouraging, or has it just happened and it's just the way that it is on your farm?
So I grew up on a farm in amongst all of that, but I didn't spend an awful lot of time outside with my dad, because we had staff on the farm that would do a lot of the milking and a lot of the shepherding, and I worked with my mum in the house. And I wanted to escape the farm. I thought there was some shiny life out there to go off, and I was an art student. I wanted to do different things. Hey ho, then I met James, and that was we ended up starting a family, and his passion was to go back to the farm. So I wouldn't say that it was a conscious thing that I wanted our kids to grow up on a farm. I think that I probably love it more now than ever, and I ever imagined, and that I've come sort of full circle. I sort of wanted to go away from it, and then I've come back round to the absolutely loving where I'm from and what we're about, and being able to let the kids run free up the fields and ride the ponies and feed the dogs and help muck out the chickens and move the cows with the fences. And it's given them a real grounding of responsibility and just that nature carries us forward, and that there's things bigger than we're just tiny specks in time. And I think they've got that sense that they can be guardians and stewards of this place too. And that's amazing. I feel very, very lucky to live on a farm.
And your 17-year-old daughter, B?
Yeah,
is
B.
It? She's at home now looking at holding the fort?
She is. Her sister's 19. She's a chef and she's working. But B is at home full time. She's just got a Kelpie pup, so she's bringing him on and wanting to do some training. She's been inspired by mustard dogs, I think, over here.
That's great.
So we're going to have a Kelpie up on the Lake District Fells. Well, there are already a few, but we've got Border Collies, and she's keen as mustard to do all of this. Really proud stock person, just like her dad. Really, capable. And why shouldn't she be, Yeah.
What a wonderful thing to have the kids being involved in the farm. We've got kookaburras. We've got a group of people just nearly walked by, Helen. I have to say what a joy and privilege it's been to have you guys in the country, in Tasmania. We call this overseas. Like, I'm from the mainland, so I flew overseas to get here without a passport, of course. So lovely to have you guys here. As I said to James, I'd love to get to your farm maybe next year, hoping to get
Absolutely.
to the UK. I'd love to get to Groundswell over there. And I trust you enjoy your time here.
Thank you.
One last thing, what are you going to take home that you've heard or seen in the last, this morning, that you think you'll apply when you get home? Is there anything that sort of stands out?
I think what this whole event is doing for me is giving me more energy and more positivity. We're already doing some great things where we are, but we're up against it in the UK. Politics is an absolute shocking shambles right now. Industrial food systems, all sorts of health issues, and it can get you down. It can really bog you down. Whereas coming to this and talking to like-minded people and being in one of the most beautiful places on earth, it's spectacular. The bird life and the insects and the just magical. I think it's given me energy and enthusiasm for going back and just saying, to hell with all the rest of that stuff. Let's do what we can do on our farm and make it the best place we can make it.
Good on you. And just to note, any of your UK buddies over there listen to this, those kookaburras are real. We didn't just implant them on the audio there. They are literally under that tree. They often do get set off by chainsaws. That's a classic. Enjoy the rest of your time, and hope to see you in the UK in the future.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Helen.